Do you throw a party every time you successfully complete a mitzvah? Welcome to something short and sweet in the Parsha. This week, Parshas Sisa, which contains the episode of the golden calf. Moshe Rabbeinu was up on Har Sinai and he's receiving the Torah, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu turns to him and says, "It's over. Lech reid ki shichas amcha, go down. Your people have imploded." And he goes on to tell him exactly what is transpiring. Moshe Rabbeinu responding to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu had said to them, they're Am Kishei Oref, and Sefarno explains, that means they're not going to listen to anyone. No Moret Tzedek is going to have an influence on them. There's nothing I can do for them. They're done, and therefore I'm going to destroy them. And maybe I'll make a people out of you. Moshe Rabbeinu implores the Ribono Shel Olam, and he invokes Chilul Hashem, and he invokes the Zechus Avos, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu relents. And then, surprisingly, we have Moshe Rabbeinu going down the mountain with the Luchos. Why did he go with the Luchos? Wasn't he destined to smash them when he saw the golden calf? HaKadosh Baruch Hu had told him about the calf. And sure enough, he goes down the mountain, he sees them. Vayicharaf Moshe, and Moshe is furious, and he smashes the Luchos. Why did he even go down? What was it about what he saw that made him break the Luchos? Perhaps he wouldn't have broken it earlier. So again, Sefarno explains that Moshe Rabbeinu was hoping that when they would see him come, that would snap them out of it, and they would do tshuva. And even if they would not change by just seeing him, he would break the Luchos in front of them, and then they would come back. However, Moshe turns to Aaron, and he says, "How can you have done this? How can you have brought this great sin on the people?" Now take note, Moshe Rabbeinu does not take Aaron for task for the specific sin against God, but how can you have brought this upon the people? And here Sefarno explains what bothered Moshe Rabbeinu so much about the whole episode. It was not the idolatry itself. It was the party, which he didn't know about when he was on the mountain. And when he came down and he saw them dancing and he saw them rejoicing, he says, as Sefarno says, there's no turning back. There's no way these people are going to tshuva. They have too deeply inculcated their sin. And therefore he broke the Luchos without the hope that they would do tshuva for the breaking, because of the breaking. But because this people were no longer worthy of these Luchos. And that's when he turned to Aaron. And he said to Aaron, "How could you do this? This was your idea to dance. This was your idea to have a party. How can you do it? That's the end of the world." The Sefarno says these words. He says, "V'zehu ra min hapesha v'hamered." The rejoicing is worse than the rebellion. And again, Moshe Rabbeinu calls what happened Chata Gedola. He says to Aaron, "How could you have, what did they do to you that you told them that you brought upon them this Chata Gedola, this great sin," meaning the sin with the rejoicing. He turns to the people and he says, "Ata chatasim Chata Gedola," the great sin, the rejoicing. And in this tefillah, he says, "Ana chata ha'am Chata Gedola." It's the rejoicing that's the problem. A person could do a sin. A person could be overcome. But if he rejoices, that is very, very serious. The Zohar HaKadosh says that whether it comes to the Yetzer Tov, positive inclination, or the Yetzer Hara, the negative inclination, they only grow, they only develop mitoch simcha. It's the joy of the Avera. It's the joy of the mitzvah. There is a fascinating discussion by the great Avnei Nezer, the Sogachover Rebbe, one of the greats of all time, in his introduction to his work on Hilchos Shabbos, where he talks about Torah Lishma, learning Torah for the proper reason. And he said there are those people that say the Torah Lishma cannot be considered someone who learns and rejoices in his learning. Someone who's Machadesh Chudushay Torah, he comes up with new novel insights, and he has great joy over the fact that he's engaged and he's coming up with novelty. Because that's personal pleasure. That's not learning Torah for the sake of God's word. And the Ramah, then the Avnei Nezer says, the Avnei Nezer actually was a descendant of the Ramah. So he says, the Avnei Nezer, that this philosophy could not be more hopelessly wrong. To the contrary, the essential element of learning is the simcha that you have in your learning. And that's where he quotes the Zohar that says the growth of the Yetzer Tov is only with the simcha of the mitzvah. If it's true of an Avera, it's certainly true of a mitzvah. You know, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us so much mitzvahs, so many mitzvahs. If you think about it, it's just brachas. There are 100 brachas that we generally fulfill every single day. Think of the tefillah, all the prayers. Think of the tefillin, the talis, the emunah. Our lives are replete with mitzvahs. To the extent that we rejoice over fulfillment of those mitzvahs, we deepen our involvement, we deepen our pleasure, we deepen our belief, we deepen the good within us. Indeed, it would be a good idea to stop after going to shul one morning and say, Baruch Hashem, let me have a l'chaim, let me have a cup of coffee in honor of all the mitzvahs that I did this morning. I put on my tefillin, I put on my talis, I said the Kriya Shema, I stood in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shemona Esrei. This morning, how many brachas did I say during davening? Maybe 30. Wow. The tzedakah that I put in the pushka, etc., etc. In this way, we would have our Yetzer Tov grow exponentially. Thanks so much for listening. Have a wonderful Shabbos.